Hi, boys and girls. This is Grandma Sheila again, and I have another story for you. It's a mission story, and it's called Just Make Do. Have you ever just had to make do with whatever you have? Like wearing whatever you have in your closet, girls, even though you think you just don't have anything to wear? Or maybe you've gone and opened the refrigerator and looked inside. You shut it again. There's nothing to eat. And your mom has said, you'll just have to make do till payday. The same thing happened with missionaries. They sometimes just had to make do. Well, Pastor Martin and his wife had just been called to a new mission station. Well, they were in New Guinea now. When they got there, it was beautiful, boys and girls. There were palm trees, there were green, lush hills and valleys. And of course, if you went a ways, you could end up at the ocean. Well, they thought this was going to be a great and wonderful place, and they had been told this is a brand new mission. There is one house, and there is just a few little outbuildings. And Pastor Martin thought, sometimes it's nice to start with a nice clean slate and build up your own mission. They got there. They had 4 children that were there with them as well. The house was basically a house that's set up on stilts. So the house was built up here with log poles that went down into the ground to keep the floor up above if there was flooding and there was water to go underneath it. Well, that was an okay thing. There was a little ladder to get up in the house. But when they got in the house, there were big holes in the floor that you could see the ground down below. And it felt like you're going to fall through. And Mrs. Martin said, well, we'll have to fix the floor. The walls were made out of bamboo matting. The roof was made out of grass. In order to have such a beautiful place that's as green as that, you know that it rains there a lot. And every time it rained, that roof dripped, drip, drip all over the inside of the house. But it wasn't rainy season yet, so that didn't happen real often. But every time it did rain, that pastor's wife had to get out every bucket she had. Most of her kettles and half of her dishes were on the floor in different places under where those drips were coming down. But they had gone ahead and moved in because there was no other place for them to live. It became rainy season. Now it was raining every single day. And the missionary's wife, she almost never complained, but this was hard. Every time she wanted to cook, she had to clean up the dish that was on the floor with water in it. Every time they went to go to bed, they would put umbrellas and things over top of the bed. This was not good. When a missionary has a new mission, he has to go around and see all the villages and all the people that are in his district. There was just stuff to do. Pastor Martin hadn't got around to fixing the roof and fixing the floor. He sat down and he wrote a letter to the conference of that area that sent out the missionaries. And he explained to them that they needed some money to fix their house. It wasn't too long till they got a letter back, and the letter said, not sufficient funds, which that meant they weren't going to send him any money. So he sat down and he wrote another letter, and he explained how they were wet every day. Their beds were wet, all their dishes were on the floor, collecting drips, and how bad it was. So then they got another letter back, and this letter said, we are allotting you $100 to fix the roof and to fix the floor of the old house. Well, there was $100. And the missionary, he got really excited. He didn't tell his wife what he was up to. But while he had been making that patrol around to all the villages, he found one member of their church, a Frank, who ran a tiny little sawmill. Pastor Martin, he got in his old post-war Jeep and he headed across to Frank's place, to that sawmill. And he said to Frank, he said, how much lumber could I get for $100? And Frank thought about it for a little bit and he said, well, you know, if you cut the wood yourself here at the sawmill, you could get enough wood to frame a house. And he went, great, let's do it. He had that $100. And then he not only had to pay for the wood, he had to pay duty on it, which is kind of like a tax to the government for them cutting down the trees. And he had to pay the young men that helped him do it. But it all fit within that $100. He was so excited. And as they cut wood, he put a little trailer behind that old war Jeep, and he put the wood in it. And then he would drive the miles it took to get back to the mission. It wasn't long till they had the framework of a house up. It was really, really exciting. But the only problem was missionaries have to put up with a lot. And one of the things that generally the missionaries have to do is they put big barrels under the corners of the roof of their house, and they catch rainwater, and they use that to drink a lot of times. They use it to wash their hair, put it in their little tub and take a bath, or they wash their dishes with it. But what was coming off of that house was gross. It tasted terrible. Would you want to put your head and your body in it? Would you want to cook with it? Not really. They knew they needed to get the new house done. So he sent another letter to the conference. And he said, I framed in a house for the $100 you sent me. All I need is a roof. I can hire men here or the ladies to weave mats to make the walls. And I can make the floor. That won't cost anything. But what I need is a corrugated iron roof. Well, they got a letter back. They said, you shouldn't have done that. We sent you money to fix the roof and to fix the floor. We can't help you anymore right now. And the missionary realized he'd kind of overstepped his bounds. He should have just fixed the old house. They had a house that leaked with holes in the floor, holes in the roof, and a framed up house with no roof or sides or anything, and no money. Well, he thought, sometimes you have to take your request to a higher level. Do you know what that means? Pastor Martin, he took it to God. He said, I really did make a blooper. I should have done what the leaders told me to do and fix the old house. But since I didn't, now I'm in trouble. I have a house with no roof. The old house still has leaks and the floor has holes in it. My family's getting all wet. Can you forgive me for being presumptuous and spending the money in a different way than I was supposed to? Can you help me find a roof or find money from somewhere? Well, that was all he could do. And the only thing the family could do was stay living in that leaky house. Well, as Pastor Martin made his rounds, one of the places he went was to the airport. He was going to pick up some supplies, but when he got there, sitting at the end of the airstrip was a huge pile, and on it was a tag that had the name of another mission station. Well, he knew where that mission station was. And he thought, well, I need to call them to let them know that their roofing is here. So he got on their phone. He had called the other missionary, that other pastor, and he said, your corrugated iron is here at the airport. It's sitting at the end of the runway. And the man said, I didn't order any corrugated roofing. I didn't order any. So Pastor Martin said, okay, I'll try to figure out who it belongs to. On that tag, on this stack of that whole pile of roofing, there was the address of the company that had shipped it. He got on the phone and he called them. And the man said, yeah, we know that we delivered that whole load. It was supposed to have gone to another mission out by the coast. And it cost so much for us to fly that there, then we think we'll just leave it there. If you have a need for it, you can just have it. We'll send out more to the other mission station. You can just have it. Just make do with what you have. Well, he hadn't had a roof that he could make do with, but God had seen far in advance. Miraculously, that was delivered to where he would need it, but not where it had belonged. He had a roof. He was so excited. He got that Jeep, he got that trailer, and he started hauling it. And it didn't take them long till they had a roof over that new house. And then the ladies had woven bamboo matting, and they made walls to the outside out of that. I don't know what they did right away for windows because they didn't have the money for that. But they did have a little bit of their savings money, the missionary did, was he went and bought just a little more lumber and made a wooden floor inside of that new house. Oh, God was so good. And the story says that house is still being used today. Well, missionaries and even people here at home, God answers even before they call, like he did with the roof. His missionaries have to just make do, but they make do with using the knowledge that God has given them and the things that God provides. Thank you, boys and girls. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.